Hey everybody, today we're going to take a look at another state for 2024 and see which way it might be trending. This time we're going to head out to the East Coast and take a look at Delaware. After this, even though I've gotten a lot of suggestions, don't be surprised if we take another look at the key battleground states as the election gets closer. Also, apologies on my voice for this one, so let's dive into it. Now, this is not a huge state, both in terms of land and population, and it's known as a blue state, so it should not be competitive. But the map here shows the presidential shifts between 2016 and 2020. The vertical lines indicate turnout, and most of the map is blue. It's hard to see Delaware, but it's safe to say that with this being Biden's home state in 2020, there's no red shifts in the state. So given there's less data here, we're going to be able to go quicker. So let's get a little bit of background about the very first state. So Delaware has 3 electoral votes. There's only the one at-large congressional district, and as you can see in 2020, Biden won his home state by almost 19 points, and that was a big boost from 2016. Now, there was a lot less third-party vote in 2020 than 16, so keep that in mind. But Biden was on par with Obama's second-term win in 2012, and that's only a little bit lower than the widest gap on here in 2008. Now, the last time the margin was within single digits for president was 2004, but the last time the state voted for a Republican for president was back in 1988. George H.W. Bush actually won this state by more than 10 points. So the state used to be more friendly to liberal Rockefeller type of Republicans, but they've not even elected a Republican for governor since way back in 1988. So let's look a little bit more into the last election. So we can see Biden is at 58.8, Trump is at 38.9. It's a little bit under a 100,000 vote advantage for Biden. Of course, he was the very long-time senator from this state, and he was the vice president. It makes sense he's going to do pretty well, especially because Trump ended up being defeated. But as I said, there was a lot less third-party vote this time. Joe Jorgensen had the most with about 1%. Now, if you go down here, it's a small state. You can familiarize yourself with the map. There's only 3 counties in this state. We've got Newcastle, which has Wilmington to the north, and that is by far the most populous county. Then south of there, we have Kent County, which has the state capital of Dover. And then all the way at the bottom, we've got Sussex, which has the city of Georgetown and is also the least populous. Now below, we've got the table, and we could sort by the total number of votes cast. In the population-heavy county of Newcastle, Biden cleaned up. He won that by a massive 37-point margin. Trump was able to snag Sussex by double digits, but Biden won Kent by a narrow 4 points. Now, if you want to take a little closer look at some of the county trends, we can get on Ballotpedia. This time, the shading does not indicate the margins. That just shows you how often they voted for the Democrat or the Republican in the last 3 presidential elections. And this is super easy with just 3 counties. Newcastle, which easily has over half of the state population. That again looks similar to where it was back in 2012 with Obama. But in 16, Trump was stagnant, while Hillary went down about 6 points. A lot of that is probably because of the extra third-party vote. Then in 2020, Trump went down a couple of points, and Biden seemingly gained all that third-party support back, and he did about 1.5 points better than Obama did. So 37 points, that's an absolute blowout. Next, in Kent County, almost 1/5 of the population lives here, and yet again, it's similar to the margins back in 2012. Then with the extra third-party vote in 16, Hillary sank 7 points, while Trump actually went up 3. That was enough for this county to flip, and Trump won it. But 4 years later, in the last election, Biden regained almost 7 points, and that was enough for the county to flip back to Biden. And finally, in Sussex, almost 1/4 of the population lives here, and it matches up with the other counties by having a similar margin to 2012. Romney won it by 13 points. Then in 16, Hillary went down almost 6, while Trump went up about 3, so a 22-point margin for Trump. Then last time, that margin was cut in half. It was 11 points for Biden as he put up about 44 to Trump's 55. Next, we could get on this map here, and this shows you the 2020 presidential data down to a precinct level. So most of the blue is concentrated in the north, and then you've got some around the capital of Dover. Republicans have a little bit of strength outside the more populated areas. Now, if you click right here, this will show you the shifts between 2016 and 20. If we click on that, almost the entire state goes blue. That makes sense. It lines up with the shifts we saw earlier toward Biden. There's a few precincts that got redder, including this one here that somehow shifted 39 points to Trump. But for the most part, the state got a lot bluer. Next, we can move on to this map with the red and the blue arrows. Blue shifted toward Trump, red shifted toward Biden. The bigger the arrow, the bigger the shift. And as we already know, the 3 counties shifted toward Biden. But we can also click on any one of these counties for a more detailed breakdown. So let's take a look at Kent County. If any county is going to be considered a swing, it's going to be this one. And as we can see, between 16 and 20, both Biden and Trump gained raw votes. But Biden gained a lot more. He was over 11,000, while Trump was at 4,000. And also take note of how the third-party vote dropped way off. off. It went down about 2/3, a raw 4% reduction down to just 1.7. And throughout all those shifts, Biden went up 6.5 and Trump went down 2.5. So a pretty decent gain there for Biden. So that's where some of the general shifts are at. But another thing that might matter are the shifts among specific demographic groups. So if we take a look at the exit polling for 2020 for Delaware, we can see Biden won both men and women. He won every age demographic as well as every education group. Religion, Trump was able to snag Protestants and Catholics by low single digits. With household income, Biden again won all of them. With population density, Biden won urban voters with 74%. He won suburban with 62. Small town was very close. He got it by 1 point. And rural voters actually voted for Trump also by 1 point. So you can scroll down here and look at the rest if you'd like. But in addition to the demographic changes, voter enthusiasm or turnout could be another factor. This map here will show you the voter turnout in the last 3 federal elections. In the blue wave of 2018, the turnout here was almost 51%. In 2020, it spiked all the way up to 69. Then the top number shows the recent midterms. There it plunged all the way back down to under 43. So I would expect the upcoming turnout to be somewhere between 2018 and 2020. So far it doesn't look good here at all for the Republicans. The closest recent election we can take a look at is going to be for state treasurer back in 22. There was a single-digit race. The Democrat won by 7 points. So closer, but still not close enough. In that election, the Republican easily won Sussex as well as Kent County. But in Newcastle, it was 26 points for the Democrat. So if a Republican is ever going to be competitive in this state, they have to run it way up in Sussex, probably hit double digits in Kent, and keep it to around 20 points in Newcastle. So the last thing we could do is take a look at the polling accuracy back in 2020. Now, of course, this is a blue state. There wasn't a ton of polling done. But again, Biden won the state by about 19. However, the aggregate polling had Biden up by about 23. So some overestimation of Biden's support there, but not as bad as we've seen in other states. And the individual polls all had Biden clearly ahead. So with all that said, which way will Delaware trend? Well, if it actually was Biden on the ballot, that would give him some extra points. However, his popularity has been very low. So it seems reasonable to think that the state could shift at least slightly back toward Trump. Now, without Biden on the ticket, the home state advantage, I think, is going to go down a little bit. I don't think they're all of a sudden going to be fans of Trump at all, but I think candidates tend to do a little bit better in their own states. It's also possible that there's a rallying around Biden or Harris or whoever the Democrat is, not necessarily in favor of them, but more so in opposition to Trump. We've seen that time and time again for the motivation of Democrats. So it doesn't seem like the state is going to be competitive anytime soon. Like in the past, the state might be more open to supporting a liberal type of Republican, but at this point, I don't think that would be enough to make the state actually competitive. Things could change slowly over time, but for now, it does look like this state is staying solidly blue. We'll see what happens, but that's a look at some of the recent political history for Delaware. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this state? Is there any part of the state that you think Republicans can make gains? Or do you think it's just gotten so blue that there's no way Trump can make any meaningful gains here? How do you think it's going to go? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.